join us. This is a good time to turn off the noise-making parts of your other electronic bits and pieces, and see if you can't settle the dog somewhere else with a bone. Before we begin anything else, we'll have some committee moments led by Anne.
Thanks, Paula. This is Ann Packham, and this is an opportunity before we sort of settle into our service for our different committee chairs to give any announcements that they want to make to the congregation or to our guests, so you get to find out what's going on. Do we have any committee chairs who would like to give an announcement? I saw Mary Ann's hand first, and then I saw Martha. So Mary Ann, why don't you go first?
Wonderful. Welcome every morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the Social Action Committee, and today is our Faith in Action Sunday, and we are hosting David Johnson as our speaker today. So as you know, we have been really focusing on housing insecurity as our topic for the year. And under housing insecurity come many different headings. Homelessness is one, food insecurity, and we've been doing the food drive to address that. Poverty is another, and legislation is a third. It's a key area because we are looking at policies and actions that will address the housing insecurity. So our Faith in Action group has created the Faith in Action Legislative Ministry. So you will see this, we'll be putting this forward. And so I don't know, may I share the screen? Is that possible? Okay.
Yes.
So if you can all see this, this will be going up on our website, so that we have a subgroup on the Social Action Committee, which is our legislative ministry, and we're partnering with the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida ministry, which Dave Johnson is representing, and also with the Unitarian Universalist Association Justice and Inclusion Ministry. So both of these are following legislation and actions at both the local, state, and federal level that would impact basically our values. And they're looking at things that reinforce our values or legislation that may in some way really compromise our values. And I'll move down the page here if I can do that. So as you know, the Florida legislature will be starting session on March 2nd, and there are several pieces of legislation that are really going to address our topic of housing insecurity, but also issues of poverty. And we will be putting on our website the legislative action alerts, which is something we would encourage you to sign up for. So this tells you when there is a bill either in committee, which could be happening now, or actually being voted on in the legislature. And it really spells out how this bill would either align with our values or would be in direct opposition to our values. So one of the things that we are asking is that you pay attention to these, and you know who your representatives are, your officials in Florida. There'll be links to find that. There's a legislative tracker, which also lets you know which bills are going where. The key piece that we would be asking is that to put your faith in action, take action. So the values really are important, and what is happening in the legislature, some of the bills are really rather draconian in some of their ways. So pay attention. This legislative session could be very important, and Dave Johnson will be talking more about that. And I'd like to turn it over. I believe Kelly is on to give us an update, or Joey, on the food drive. And I'll stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann. So just a couple of things I just want to point out for the food drive, just a couple of bullets. First off, the great news is we still have donations coming in. Excellent. We received several donations this week. In terms of money raised, we raised $165 this week for a total of $1,035 for the food drive. So that's amazing. Also, several people have contacted me for marketing flyers for their own neighborhood food drive. We really appreciate that. Miak and I will be at the church this Monday. Hopefully it will not be raining from 5 until 7. And I think Judith hopefully will go into this in more detail, but Joey Cole and I and Judith, I know that's probably not correct grammar, but the three of us have kind of coordinated and organized a food drive in partnership with our RE team and Judith the 20th of February, this Saturday. So we're really looking forward to that. And just in closing, we have 2 more weeks till the food drive is over. And so far, we've done a really great job. You guys have really contributed, and we thank you so much for that. So also, we have several boxes for those for individuals in our congregation or in our community or someone that you may know that's in need. It has food insecurities. We'll have 2 boxes at the church on Monday with a $20 gift card for some. If you know of anyone or if someone is in need of that service, they can stop by the church. Pick up the 2
And
boxes.
even though I said I wasn't going to talk, I just want to say whatever Kelly said for the amount of money we raised, we got a check for $300 yesterday also. So add that to it.
Okay. All right. So just again, thank you everyone for your contribution, your just your participation in making this great cause really important for our community. So thank you. Back over to you.
Thank you, Social Action. We have lots of other announcements here, so I'm going to remember the order that I saw hands in. I see Martha and John, and I know I called someone else earlier. I've already forgotten. So let's start with Martha, and then I think for programs, I'm guessing.
Actually, no, for the board. Next week, next Sunday, immediately after church, we're going to be having our quarterly meeting. So please put that on your schedule. It hopefully will be full of information, but not too long. And the minutes will be in this week's notable news. I forgot to I don't think they were in last week. I was out of town and didn't check, but they will be in this week. So it's not quite the 10 days notice, but y'all are such quick readers. I hope that won't be a problem. So let's plan to stay next week after church, and we'll try to be efficient and cognizant of your time. But it's important that the community meet together to know what we're doing, what we're thinking, and ways that you can share your time, talents, and treasures with everybody else, even while we're apart. Thank you.
Thanks, Martha. John Mowbray.
Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to remind you that next Saturday is workday at the church. So if you have, or if you're so inclined to have some talents you can share with working outside or inside, love to have you all come join us and hope to see you then. Thank you. And basically so next Saturday from about 9 to 12.
Thanks, John. Judith, I see your hand up.
Yeah, apparently everything's at the church next Saturday. So as Kelly had suggested and Joey had suggested, the children and youth are invited to participate in the food drive next week, to bring food, to help staff, but if they bring food and they want to participate in a fun way, Joey, and I understand we've got a helper from the youth, Celia, are going to lead the kids through veggie bowling. So bring something for the drive, participate in veggie bowling. If you participate and knock something over, you'll win a prize. There we go.
Woo-hoo. Thanks, Judith. Amanda, do you want to make announcements about the Public Relations Marketing Committee? I saw it in the chat, but just for those who are not reading the chat.
Sure. Our next meeting is going to be next Sunday, February 28th at 1 p.m. If you're interested in serving on the committee, we would welcome you. Just let me know, contact me. My email is in the chat there. Also, we have parents group tonight at 9 p.m. We have it every Sunday. So if you're interested, if you're in charge of taking care of a little one, you are definitely welcome. However, you define being in charge of taking care of a little one. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. And you said February 28th for PR. You said next Sunday, but you mean the 2 weeks from now, right?
Sorry, February 21st. Thank you.
We do have the board meeting at that quarterly meeting at that time slot. So just
We'll change it. Thank you.
That's why we need our council meeting, so we're all on board with everything. So any committee chairs who are not aware, we are having a Google /Gmail coordination sort of training meeting. We've moved it to Friday at 5 o'clock. So if you haven't gotten that information, it's going to be via Zoom. Contact me at Vice President or anpackham@yahoo.com. Either way. Does anybody else have announcements? I'm trying to see any hands. I don't see any right now. I put one for the women's group in the chat. I think that's it. So back to you, Paula.
Thank you. My opening words today come from the Reverend Dr. Yolanda Pierce. Let us not value a false peace over a righteous justice. Let us not be afraid to sit with the ugliness, the messiness, and the pain that is life in community together. And we have some opening music, words and music by Jason Shelton. Here we go.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Wow, they're good. If you have a chalice, pick it up now. Light yours with mine. Read these words with me. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And affirming our relationship with each other, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. We welcome our guests. We are always happy to have people come and visit with us. We do want you to share your name with us and help us to know who you are for safety reasons and for just because we'd like to be acquainted. Visit us many times. Our speakers and topics vary weekly as we are a lay-led congregation. We're a conversation too, I guess. We have different speakers, and it's always something. There's something to feed you one way or another. And you're also welcome to stay afterward. Bring your own coffee and we'll provide conversation. I'll turn the microphone over to Amanda for joys and concerns at this time.
Paula, you're muted.
I got you. Judith Stein Farrell is our Director of Religious Education, and she's prepared a time for all ages for us for right now. So gather the kids around the screen for right now.
So
And then
Paula,
turn loose again.
it's a time for all ages.
I didn't tell anyone else to leave.
Okay.
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to say that I've invited Chloe McElroy to help me today with Time for All Ages. She has no idea what I'm asking her to do. But as I go through, it will become clear. We're not in the building. It's very hard to do crafts together, but we're going to try this anyway today. Which is why you're going to see on your screen this Time for All Ages screen, which I'm going to make larger. I'm going to take over the screen with this picture in just a moment. But first, I'm going to just chat for a fast second. Those of us in the congregation who are of Jewish heritage have probably heard of the expression of tikkun olam.
I have.
You have? Okay. I'm not qualified to give a actual good teaching on tikkun olam, but the Kabbalist, actually, let me ask if Roberta or Evelyn have a clear knowledge on what tikkun olam is in the traditional sense.
I'm sorry, but I do not know.
Okay. So, because sometimes you two have a better knowledge on this than I do. But my understanding and my reading and stuff is traditionally it's about transcending. A rabbi explained to me that there's a story that the world, when creation happened, creation kind of exploded and shards went in different directions. And while most of it all came back together in life as we have it today, pieces went out in vessels in different ways. And the Orthodox tradition is that we want to transcend this life and bring and get rid of the negative parts of that explosion. And that's as far as I'm going to go with the traditional version. The hippy dippy version that I grew up with is it means repair the world, that we want to do good in this world.
To heal.
Say that again, Paula?
To heal the world.
Yeah. And this month in religious education, I kind of use the lens of our sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, which I believe, in my sense, is our way of beginning to heal the world. Now, I'm bringing this all together. Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. And I thought today, as a group, we would put out thoughts out there and create a piece of art that I'm going to put on the screen for you. And as you go, I'm going to write out the suggestions you have for healing the world and put them in a collage on this heart, which we will then take a photograph of and put out in notable news and for everyone to have access to over the next week. Because normally we put it up in the hallway or something in the church building and we'd be able to enjoy it together. So real quick. So Chloe, your job is to tell me what people shout out or write in the chat. Okay. All right, so let me, first of all, let me spotlight my nice big heart over here. And there we go. All right, start shouting out what I need to put on there.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Hug.
Keep going.
Listen.
Listen.
Keep going.
Self-reflection.
Smile.
Listen, I don't know if you got that one. Oh yeah, you did. Smile. Help others.
Respect.
Practice patience. Respect. Act on your values. Keep it real. Consideration. Tell me if I'm going too fast, Judith.
You're going very fast, so I'm sure I'm missing things, but I can always go back and add while we're talking. Keep real.
Consideration.
Consideration.
Reach out to the lonely, angry, and sad. Be engaged in your community. Volunteer! Exclamation point.
Woo!
Assume positive intention.
Luckily, I made some big hearts. There we go.
Persist! Exclamation point.
Okay.
Forgive.
Forgive.
Selflessness, sorry. That was the last one for right now.
Okay, I will add selflessness and we will then turn it back over to our team for the rest of the morning. I
Love.
will unspotlight.
There's a few more that came in. Do you want me to read them?
I'll add them in while people
Okay.
are talking. I'm going to remove the spotlight. If people are trying to get back to the grid view, they need to go to the top right of their screen, click view and hit gallery. So otherwise you'll just get the next person who speaks.
Each Sunday, we take a collection. That's how you can be sure we really are a church. And we're a generous congregation as we share from our own pockets into this figurative virtual bowl. And then 40% of what gets dropped into there, we share with a charitable or social justice organization. This right now is going to, oh dear, I've forgotten it. Someone help me here.
Second Harvest Food Bank.
Second Harvest Food Bank. I just couldn't find the words. So in addition to the food that we're donating to them and the cash that's, the various monies that we've collected on those days when we've been collecting food, we're also taking 40% of our offering. And this is your opportunity to participate in that, either online at the thing on the screen, or you can go old school and write out a check and put it in an envelope in the snail mail. Thank you. One and all. Our speaker today is David Johnson. He lives in Jacksonville and is a member of and attends the UU Jacksonville, Florida. He's been a UU for close to 50 years, so he's got some foundation there to work with. He's going to talk about the importance of faith in action and legislative ministry, like why we actually get in touch with our legislators, why we need to know who they are and how we can influence them so that their behavior reflects more of our values. Because truly, they don't know what we want unless we tell them. Justice is David's passion. He's been doing this kind of work. His resume reflects for many years, and he also enjoys gardening. He's sharing today with the same Valentine he has since 1964. And now I give the microphone to David Johnson.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very, very much for inviting me to your service. I have visited your congregation maybe 6 or 8 years ago at one of the district workshops, I believe, and so some of you, I may have met some of you before. I'd like to begin with the vision and mission statements that are displayed on the UUJF website homepage. Our vision is a just and compassionate society, an improved global economy, and a sustainable earth, starting in Florida. Our mission is to promote justice, equity, and compassion in public policy, guided by our faith tradition and working with public interest groups and interfaith partners who work for the common good. To help us fulfill this mission, we engage and encourage Florida UUs to become involved in social justice efforts, provide tools and resources for incorporating our UU values in family and community life, and we collaborate with partners with other organizations focused on progressive causes. We follow this path because we believe these efforts will improve the quality of life for all Floridians. It will elevate the presence of UU congregations in their respective communities and will enable us to share our liberal religious values and traditions with non-UUs. Also, it encourages us to act on our beliefs so that we may address injustice and divisiveness. And here's one thing that I found out in my past experience: being active in social justice work in your community will increase your congregational membership and involvement. So how did we get here? UUJF and the UUJF Action Network are successor organizations to the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry of Florida. That was formerly a committee of the Florida District until the Florida District was absorbed by the Southern Region in 2013. UUJF and UUJFAN are incorporated as 501c3 and C4 not-for-profit or corporations in the state of Florida. And UUJF is one of 24 members of the coalition of UU state action networks in the country. So here are a few of the current activities that deserve mention. UUJF has established the Environmental Justice and Climate Resiliency Ministry under very capable leadership of Jan Boer, who some of you may know. She's a very experienced and very accomplished community organizer and grant writer. She has campaigns currently underway in Orlando and Fort Myers to address the impact of soil, water, and air contamination in low-income communities. And she has received grants to administer recovery efforts that address homelessness from recent hurricane damage in Bay County. Her most recent grant is for funding teams of youth in collaboration with the 100 Black Women of Florida organization. and collect information in low-income communities regarding the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. UUJF is co-sponsored, supported, and participated in workshops and conferences in partnership with other interfaith climate action networks. And for the past 3 or 4 years, I have been leading efforts to drive public support for the UUJF legislative agenda and to influence public policy. When I first started with UUJF, our strategy at the time was to select 3 core issues and schedule meetings with legislators in Tallahassee as part of the UUJF annual Legislative Days event. I was never comfortable with this strategy for several reasons. Number one, it's difficult to get UUs to agree on anything, especially on settling 3 core issues out of the many that we know need our attention. Mission creep and late breaking news make it difficult to confine discussions to just the 3 core issues that we had agreed on just a few months earlier than the session. So in meetings in our legislators' offices in Tallahassee, we generally had maybe 10 or 15 minutes in a very hectic and chaotic office environment during the legislative session to present our case. Furthermore, our legislators were rarely available to meet with us because they had committee meetings and other appointments. So we wound up meeting with an office staffer or the receptionist or an intern, which meant we would be getting little or no feedback or responses to our questions and comments. Timing was always an issue. Legislators are reluctant to respond, to become engaged or make a commitment unless there are specific bills being heard in the committees of which they are members. And that always rarely occurred on days when we were in Tallahassee. So after each year's gathering in Tallahassee, I would tweak and modify our strategy in attempts to resolve some of these issues. This year, our strategy was further complicated by the pandemic, which caused us to cancel our annual 2021 Legislative Day event. Here's a brief overview of the legislative process that highlights areas where we may be best suited for influencing public policy. And these will be, I'm sure, key elements of your new Faith in Action team. Every year, approximately 2,000 bills are filed to enact new legislation affecting Florida residents. So far this year, 1,000 bills have been filed, so we can expect another 1,000 bills before the filing deadline, February 26th. Of those bills filed so far this year, I am already tracking over 200 that meet the criteria for advancing a progressive agenda as outlined on the legislative advocacy page on the UU Justice Florida website. And Mary Ann said that she's going to post a link to that in her posting to your website. Following a bill's introduction, proposed legislation is typically referred to 3 committees for hearings. Each bill, along with a companion bill, must pass its respective committee referrals and affirmative votes in their respective chambers before being sent to the governor for his signature. This next statement is one that's been very difficult for me to comprehend. Last year, less than 150 bills out of the total of 2,000 that were filed were ever signed into law. Of those bills signed by the governor, 4 of them were bills we supported, and 8 bills were ones that we opposed. Most bills just die in committee, not because they failed to receive a majority vote of approval in committee hearings, but because they were never placed on a committee agenda to begin with. And that is due to the influence and control that is exerted by each chamber's leadership and by their appointed committee chairs, who decide when a bill will be heard, if ever. So what can we do to improve the success rate for passage of bills we support. First, I suggest members of the congregations like UUUF, along with members of indivisible groups, members of other religious congregations, and other civic-minded organizations, form teams to prioritize areas of interest and concern. I'm on a team with the Jacksonville Sierra Club members, in addition to my work with the UUJF. I suggested downloading the UUJF legislative agenda. It's a 2-page document. It's a good place to start. And this legislative agenda is also posted on our website. Second, I urge each team to develop ongoing relationships with their legislators in their districts with the understanding this will be a long-term commitment. This will require requesting appointments for pre-session meetings with your legislators. In your meetings, you will introduce your team and your organization and discuss your list of legislative priorities. This year, of course, meetings are virtual, but in subsequent years, you may be able to schedule in-person visits with your legislators' district offices. In Clay County, we met with our state senator. We had a 50-minute meeting. There were 20 of us on the call. We had 4 presenters talking about the issues on our legislative agenda and had a chance to get some really good feedback from our state senator. Our success with our state House representative were not nearly as successful. Their legislative assistant only wanted to give us a 10-minute slot, which we refused, saying that's not nearly enough to present our case and talk about our people. So being this close to the start of the session, it's very unlikely you'll be able to schedule meetings this year, but I hope you'll keep that in mind for next year. The third way we can influence legislation, sign up for the targeted action alerts, which have been mentioned earlier in this program. And then when you sign up, you'll get the targeted action alerts when bills are on the tracker or added to committee agendas for hearings and votes. You'll receive alerts only for committee meetings on which your legislator is a member. All alerts cite brief talking points and reasons for support or opposition. So far this month, I've sent out 10 action alerts last week. I have 4 more to do this afternoon for bills on committee meeting agendas next week. Some of you may have already received some of these. I started something new this year by including in each alert 1 or more bills which we support that have been referred to that committee for its next stop. So when you respond to an alert urging your legislator to vote in support or opposition to a bill on a committee's calendar, you will also be encouraged to copy the committee chair on your email and include this list of bills from the alert that you would like to see placed on that committee's calendar for its next meeting. Remember, these 200 or so bills on the tracker that I'm following need to be placed on a committee agenda or they're going to fail. They'll die in committee. So in closing, I'd like to draw your attention to SB 404, Companion Bill HB 183, which creates the Office of Minority Health and Health Equity. This new department will address health quality outcomes, including the effects of homelessness. And this is something I understand is one of the priorities that's set by your Faith in Action team this year. So following that bill, getting it passed is going to go a long way to achieving your team's goal. I encourage you to join your Faith in Action team, sign up for the action alerts, and urge passage of this bill that will ultimately address homelessness in your community, as well as some of the other 200 bills that I'm tracking. So I will gladly make myself available to you and your Faith in Action team to help in any way that I can and to help you realize these goals that you've set for yourself. Enacting progressive legislation in a conservative state like Florida takes time, patience, and a strong showing of public support. And that's where all of you fit in. Thank you again for having me. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to stick around and answer those, or certainly work with your team as they have their meetings and develop their plans. So thank you again. I don't know if there's any questions in the chat or not, but to be glad to answer
You're
them.
not, unmute yourself, Paula.
Okay, so if there are questions, we could put them in the chat. Can I? Thank you, David. Thank you, David. All right.
Looks like
Is-
everyone.
There are questions here. Can you see my hand, Paula?
I can. Evelyn, ask your question.
Okay. I wanted to ask David about the committee that he discussed as the regular committee. We have a meeting on Tuesday with our representative who happens to be on the pandemic health committee. Are they intertwined with the committee that you just mentioned in terms of health, or are they separate committees?
You know, it occurred to me just before the meeting, I really should have the answer to that question because somebody was going to ask it and I didn't take the time to look it up. But I will get back to you with those committee assignments.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, by the way, what are the legislators in your district? Your state senator and your state representative?
Well, unfortunately, you know, we have, of course, such a mixed group that there are different, the committee meeting that we have happens to be from my district, which covers a few people in the congregation. And that is, you know, Joy Goff, who is, of course, you know, from District 30, which takes part of Orange and part of Seminole County. So that's who we're meeting with this time. We've had a couple of other meetings from a couple of other districts. Most have had no satisfaction about anything, of course. So we're hoping to get a little more from Joy Goff Michelle.
David, I'm waiting for a reply from Carlos Guillermo. I can't say the middle name, I'm sorry. Smith. Guillermo, thank you. I get that messed up every time. I'm waiting for a response from him about setting up a meeting, and also Linda Stewart is my senator. So
Okay.
anybody else know their representatives?
Yeah, we spoke to my representatives, well, Representative David Smith and Senator Jason Broder.
There are two Smiths, so not to be confused.
Right. Yeah, I can work up some action alerts that go to some of those people and forward them to you. Maybe I'll send them to Mary Ann and then she can post them somewhere.
That's
Yes,
a good idea.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Next week is a committee week in Tallahassee. And then there's only one more week before the session starts. So if you haven't had an appointment by now, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to schedule one. But anyway, thank you for trying. I think that lets them know that there are people watching them and will affect their the way they vote accordingly.
Thank you for your very profound and a really great presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you, David. I'm curious about the bill you mentioned. I didn't have a chance to write down the number, but was that the one that addressed protecting the Sadowski fund?
No, and I don't know what that particular bill reference is. That one of the problems with our state legislature is that they set up these trust funds and then they'll take that money that's not been spent in those trust funds, and then they'll use it for their regular budget purposes. Is this the Sadowski, the housing fund? The housing trust fund?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I do know about that one, and no, this particular bill I mentioned is different. Yeah, there's another bill that I am following that will protect the Sadowski trust funds. SB 404 and HB 183, the title is just to set up a new department in the state to check these disparities in health outcomes. And that, of course, includes homelessness as an issue.
Who's sponsoring that one? Do you know who sponsored it?
No, I don't have that in front of me, sorry.
Have you seen the new budget, David? Have you seen the new budget? Because what I saw doesn't seem to have drained or gone into the Sadowski fund for a change.
The last news reports I read about the state budget is that the governor is expecting sufficient income to cover an increase in the budget for this year.
Right.
Personally, I don't see how that's going to happen with the limitations on cutback on tourism and our sales tax revenues. I think they're going to have some budget issues. But of course, the federal state government is depending on money from the federal government, which surprisingly enough, Senator Scott objects to. So
the money always comes with conditions.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last I read about the Sadowski fund is that it was going to the Finance and Tax Committee.
And they're meeting this week. That's probably on my action alert. Yeah, that'll be on my action alert, and you sign up for it, you'll receive it. If not, I'll forward it to Mary Ann.
Okay, and Martha has a question.
Well, I was just going to say that as the honorarium for today, you said to choose a charity to which we were attached, but we're going to join the UUJF fund as a congregation. So we'll be getting those as well, and I encourage, like you said already, and Mary Ann will share on our legislative page that we can all join individually and have tailored responses. So we got to get engaged.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you so much. We're going to have some closing things now, and everyone here is welcome to stay after the service and chat some more. Will you be able to stay a little longer, David?
Of course, yes.
Okay, we'll have a little time to do that. I'm not sure exactly how much. So, recite this along with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We'll have some closing music. Be in Pain by Alistair Mook.
Be a pain.
Be a pain. I'm sorry. I've been that.
If you see something that's wrong, raise your hand and say that's wrong. Point it out and name that thing by its name. Don't stand by and stare. If it's wrong, it's your affair. Don't be quiet, make a right, be a pain. Be a pain, be a pain. Shout about it and complain. Ignore the crowd and go against the grain. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. When Rosa Parks sat on that bus, she chose to make a fuss. She chose to break the rules and take the blame. Her choice to sit and fight helped to bring on civil rights, because one strong woman chose to be a pain. Be a pain, be a pain. Shout about it and complain. If they say you have to move, say I'll remain. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Hard Harvey Milk, he chose to run for the council board and won, even though folks said you can't because you're gay. One brave LGBTQ elected leader ran and knew you can change things if you choose to be a pain. Be a pain, be a pain, shout about it and complain. Tell him I won't let you make me feel ashamed. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Tennis star named Billie Jean told the world she had a dream that men and women would be paid the same. She refused to hit that ball till there was equal pay for all. She was a king because she was a royal pain. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. If they refuse to pay, refuse to play the game. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Kids from Parkland led the fight for something they all knew was right. They said it's time for us to finally make a change. If adults can't compromise, we must go march for our lives. They spoke out and led the charge. They all were pains. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. When you're faced with laws you know are just insane. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Oh, be a pain, shout about it and complain. Ignore the crowd and go against the grain. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain.
Hallelujah.
And all the people said, amen.
Amen.
My closing words are as follows. Do not follow the path. Go where there is no path to begin the trail. It's an Ashanti proverb. For those uncertain about all this, Ashanti is one of the cultures of Africa. I don't know what part of Africa. I didn't do all the homework, but you can. You know how to work. You Google just as well as I do. So I wish you a wonderful day. Stay if you can, unmute yourself, join in the more casual conversation, and I hope to see you all next week.